Good day. Welcome to the PowerPoint presentation for Life Skills 1 for the Diploma in Education for the secondary phase. Your tutor was Ms. Sanmary Steenkamp, but I'm standing in for her, and there will be another tutor assigned to this subject during the course of this year. So I'm standing in just to do the presentation for the Life Skills 1. The contact times will remain the same, but the contact number and the tutor who is assigned for this course will be communicated in due time. So let's continue. Our presentation's outline is as follows. We'll go through the National Syllabus Guidelines for Life Skills, secondary phase, saying from grade 8 up to grade 12. And then from Unit 2, we'll go through factors in teaching life skills. Unit 3 will focus on career aspects of life skills. In Unit 4, we'll go through the healthcare issues that we find that the life skills teacher is supposed to guide the learners into. And lastly, we'll go through the teaching sexual issues within the life skills syllabuses. Now let's go through the course outcomes, the overall comprehensive outcomes of the course. This is a diploma in education focusing on secondary phase. We expect you, upon the completion of this course, that you will examine the National Syllabus Guidelines for the life skills syllabus for the secondary phase from grade 8 to 12. You will explore the content about the teaching of study skills within the syllabus. You will analyze, remember the terms that we are using, analyze the content about teaching of career aspects, and then also explain the content about how do we teach the healthcare issues within the life skills syllabus. And then lastly, we'll examine different teaching approaches in the sexual aspects, how it should be taught within the syllabus. The assignment, some of you already have done it. I hand it in, it's completed, but those who will hand it in during the upcoming June due date, the format of the assignment is almost the same as the one of the examination paper. So it means that students must pay very important attention to the different type of questions and the manner in which these questions are being set. Thus, it means that you will prepare yourself what is expected in the examination whilst you are doing the assignment. So it's very, very important that you do thorough research and thorough reading on when you are doing and preparing for your assignment, because it will prepare you for your examination. Hence, you are accepted within the assignment to type the answers in given spaces below. You upload it on your student portal, and very important, the files must be uploaded either in Windows 2013 or 16. And at the end, you will see that the format that it uses, the extension that is attached to it, it's docx. Very importantly, follow the instructions that are given on the assignment. Again, the cover page and everything is already included in the assignment. So this section, I think you don't need to worry about it, because you will do it online, or as it will be communicated throughout the time. But very importantly, the cover page must be there, provided by IOL, table of content, introduction, the assignment content, and conclusion, and very important, the bibliography, which is the references that you might be using within the assignment, and also the study material that is attached to it. References are very important, because plagiarism is something that we don't tolerate in IOL. Meaning that if you copied everything straight from the internet, from your study guide, and then you get a symbol of F, or you get a fail symbol, and then you argue about it, say, but why am I getting this mark? It means that you have, it's actually academic professionalism is going out the door if we commit plagiarism. So it's very, very important that you use your writing skills in terms of summarizing the things, in terms of coding and then referencing the sources that you get the material from. There is a web link, a guide on how you need to write and conduct yourself when you are doing academic writing. Examination, very important. The presentation, it's also based on it. It's going to give you guidelines. Familiarize yourself with the entire content of the study guide. We can't tell you to only study Unit 5 or Unit 2. Then the reason you are in this course is that you need to learn and understand all the comprehensive outcomes that were mentioned earlier. Be very clear on what the question is asking, and then how do you answer that question. Verbs are used like the thinking skills, like explain, criticize, list, and you need to write very clearly. And marking is done holistically in terms of, can you think outside of what is provided in the study guide? Can you give your own reason? Can you give suggestions to say that you are not only copying or remembering or rephrasing what is there in your study guide? Very important. Let's go through the unit as we go through the guidelines for as you prepare for the examination, for the guidelines for the examination. So it means in Unit 1, when we go through the National Syllabus Guideline for life skills from grade 8 to 12, very important, the rationale behind the life skills syllabus is for the grade 8 to 10 learners to find within the syllabus that the learners are being guided to find meaning in life. The intention of this program is focused on developing the learner holistically and making sure that the life skills curriculum is based on a holistic education of the learner within the classroom. So it means you, as a student, you are preparing yourself as a life skills teacher to approach this learner holistically, and not only in one section that you say, we are only going to handle emotional section, but it's holistically, meaning that emotions, health, career-wise, everything is included for senior secondary, or for the secondary phase. Sorry for that. It is expected of you as a student, once you complete this program, that you will master the life skills program of grade 10 syllabus, and you have a clear idea on idea of what is the identity of learners within this phase. You will have knowledge to apply when you make decisions, be able to function effectively and be socially responsible, and have basic career knowledge. This is what is expected of a grade 10 student. So you, as a life skills teacher who is now mastering this syllabus, this is what you need to expect at the end of the day, how the student or how your learner has to look like. Within the syllabus, you will find the cross-curricular issues, the cross-curricular subject, that's a life skills. It contributes to learners' self-image. It produces values, cooperation, tolerance, respect for others and culture and possessions. And it allows for very importantly, for the learners to find new ways of understanding and sustaining their environment. And the whole world is moving towards that we need to have sustainable approaches within our environment. And lastly, the sustainability within the area of politics, moral, social, and economic demands that we come across. It's also the cross-curricular issues that you find across the life skills syllabus. To highlight the main cross-curricular issues in this phase, it's very important: the HIV and AIDS, the human rights and democracy, population education, and information technology. And with the pandemic, the information technology is highly on number one list of demand. That is a cross-curricular issue that we find across our syllabuses. Still busy with the life skills syllabus for grade 10. The approach to teaching, we are going through every section of the syllabus, so we finish the cross-curricular. Every approach to teaching and learning is based on interactive, learner-centered program. That is found across all the ministerial policies within the education sector. And it guides our documents, it guides our curriculum, it guides our syllabuses, and then it means that the aim of our syllabus then is to develop the skills, attitude, learning with understanding. And learners learn best. The learner-centered education approach is based on these premises. That we say that when a learner is actively involved in learning process, they learn the best. And when a teacher is able to help this learner to make sense of their learning in terms of how it is done, then it shapes the learner's experiences of learning. And together, if they are involved actively, then learning it takes place effectively because it's very interactive. Within the syllabus still, there are different assessment approaches. If we say we are comparing formative and continuous assessment, okay, if you can, we are comparing the formative and summative. Formative meaning formative is part of what is happening continuously. Summative it's assessment that takes place at the end of the course. But formative, it's within the course when we are continuously busy teaching, reteaching, and analyzing our learners, whether they have mastered that concept. That's where the continuous assessment comes in. So formative assessment is type of assessment that it mostly takes a form of observations. You collect information about the learner, and then you use the observations and the information that guides you on how your teaching and learning process should be. And the assessment that is formative, it's very important for the learner because it motivates them, because they can reflect on their knowledge, they can reflect on the skills that they have learned and mastered. And it also helps them to form healthy habits, study habits. It also guides them on how they must solve problems and how they must use their skills to solve the problems that they have learned. And also it teaches the information that must improve, guides the teacher also to improve on their teaching method and the learning materials that is together with it. And on the other side, continuous assessment. Remember, we are not comparing them, though we are having them in comparison table form. These two are married, they need to go together. When you conduct formative, you are basically with continuous assessment. Very importantly, continuous assessment must be kept simple as possible. Don't make it complicated. The minute you handle a topic, assessment comes in. You collect information whether the learners have mastered the topic. Marks must be given to the learners for various activities that is being recorded. Remember, you are recording observations. In order that it doesn't take up too much time of your teaching, you need to do it fast and must be done within the term's work or within the work that the learners have completed. Very importantly, for grade 11 learners, we expect them to have around 6 assessments per year, and grade 12 learners only are being assessed from the first and the second term for their continuous assessment marks. So the last term there is no assessment because they need to write the external examination. Life skills is still being taught during the third term or the trimester, and there it's where we now have to look at the learner's portfolio that must be assessed to see what was the evidence of the work done throughout the course of the year. And other assessments are also spread throughout the course of the year. And very importantly again, assess the learners continuously on the different topics that they are doing within the classroom. The 10 objectives of the assessment within the life skills syllabus of the secondary phase, it's very importantly participate. Learners must participate. Learners must demonstrate self-confidence. They must demonstrate self-discipline. They must listen and respond to the questions asked in the discussions that are taking place in the classroom. The learner must demonstrate creativity when they are asked to go into a project. The learner must be given that leeway in the classroom to express themselves and be clearly about what they want. Learners must use the problem-solving skills that they learned and pick up from other learners from the teachers and from projects that they are doing in the classroom. And also with that, apply decision-making skills, especially when they are doing career choices and when they are doing activities on sexual issues around the teenagers that they need to make their choices onto. Display a goal-seeking behavior. Actively, they are seeking ways to say, this is how I need to solve this problem, and this is how my behavior is geared towards the goals that I want. And very importantly, our learners must demonstrate self-knowledge. So the life skills syllabus must guide the learners to portray these skills, this knowledge, these behaviors, these value systems that we have in the secondary phase. If we go in Unit 2, now here it's now factors. We are now going in depth now that we explore the factors that are there when we are teaching life skills as a subject. Very importantly, the socio-economic and educational barriers can be a motivational attitude towards learning. So social economic meaning that the issues of poverty, unemployment, education barriers can also be language, not having access to textbook, not having access to learning materials. So those barriers we must keep in mind when we are teaching the subject of life skills. And if we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of learning, it speaks for itself that for a learner to, they say the learner kind of like enlightens themselves to go up to the level of self-actualization. And that's a level that very few people do come to. But let's go through those levels to say that there are 5 essential needs that must be there to motivate the learners to partake in teaching and learning. Physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and then the last one, the self-esteem. Some people, because of their physiological needs, which are basic needs of food, air, breathe, basic needs that some people don't have. Within this unit, we look at the factors that involve in teaching life skills. Very importantly, there are some barriers that you find within the learner and around the learner that might motivate and that motivates the learner towards effective learning. The willingness of a learner to learn, it's depending on the level of their motivation that they have. And this motivation is geared by what we call the Maslow's hierarchy of school of needs, which starts from the basic needs, physiological need, and need to eat, need to sleep, need to breathe. Those are basic needs that every human being needs. Safety needs, that's shelter. You see how our people are fighting about land and being safe and being protective. If a child is not safe, if a child is not protective, if a child doesn't have the physiological need, food, what happens? Learning is not going to take place in your classroom because the learner won't be motivated to learn, because learning is a self-actualization need, because it's something that you are doing to yourself. Now, while the child is having a hungry stomach, what will motivate them to try to learn? So it means the basic needs must be met before we go for self-actualization, or before we even go for feeling love or belonging within a family or a community or society. The important verbs to understand within this unit 2 is that for us to analyze, for define, explain, prove, compare. These are terms that you will find across in your assignment, in your examination. And these are important verbs that guides you and that wants to capture your thinking level when you need to answer that question. So when it means analyze, meaning you must examine, you must break it down in separate parts and then dissect it to say, oh, this is ABC in that section. Define it. It's a very low level of thinking. Just give exact meaning. You just reproduce explain. Here you need to make it clear. So logic, so there is a progression from this reason to that one. You must prove, support with facts and evidence, compare it when you compare two things, and then you see the differences and similarities within that which is given. Still based with Unit 2, basic rules to follow and avoid for failure and for success. So within that unit, we have rules that we guide to say, okay, the learners need to be their own advocates. They need to ask questions. They need to communicate their struggles to the teachers. Think of school as their time office in training, and then we must guide our learners to dress for success and to take care of themselves. And very importantly, at least do the minimum that you don't create gaps within your career forming years. We still continue with Unit 2, and we look at factors involved in teaching life skills. The next topic within this unit is a general guidelines for a more positive self-image. A positive self-image, it communicates who you are. We still pursue Unit 2 in terms of factors involved in teaching life skills. There's a topic within the Unit 2 on the general guidelines for a more positive self-image. For us to develop self-image for our learners, we need to teach them to be on time for everything, be clean, say only positive and supportive things about themselves, keep a very clean conscience, and very importantly, when we guide them with decision-making processes, that they must take responsibility for their actions and choices and forgive themselves and others for the choices that they might not be fine with. And very importantly, to put their desires into writing. These are some guidelines on how to create a more positive self-image. We continue with Unit 3. Unit 3 focuses on the aspects of career within life skills. There are certain characteristics and traits that the employers want in any employee. And these are things that we need to grow and help our learners to develop. And the next unit that we have to look in, it is Unit 3, focuses on career aspects of life skills. There are certain characteristics and traits and competencies that the employers want in employees in terms of intelligence, honesty, skills, very positive work ethics in terms of honesty that goes with the work ethics, flexibility, determination, and working abilities. And those abilities comes with knowledge and skills that the person gains in the given career. It's very important for us to encourage our learners within their secondary phase to have part-time jobs or go for job shadowing, and to make proper decisions when they have to make career choices or job choices. When the learner is doing a job shadowing, it's good that they prepare questions in advance that they wanted to ask or they want to ask during the job shadowing period. Be punctual and dress appropriately. Be attentive and observe, because job shadowing is you are observing others how they are doing their job. Do not be shy to ask questions. And then once they are done with the job shadowing, to give a thank you letter, and then to write a report on the experiences of the job shadowing after they complete the process. We continue with Unit 3. The topic here is on the concepts of work ethics, productivity, profit, and manage. Very important section here, it's on work ethics. Work ethic is a value that one places in hard work and thoroughness. A strong work ethic is important for any company to achieve its financial goals. The characteristics that goes with this work ethics, it's integrity in terms of when there is nobody watching you, you are still producing, you are still being honest, and you are still being responsible. Quality, not quantity. You can spend amount 4, 5, 6 hours, but still the quality of the job won't be up to standard. Discipline in terms of time management, discipline in terms of postponing things, to say that instead of doing or going for that fun thing, you will sit in and do your job, and then playing as a team. Teamwork is very important in keeping up your work ethics. Still continuing within the Unit 3, we will look at the Namibian Social Security Commission. It's a very, very important section when you go into a career. This commission main purpose is to administer the funds for maternity leaves, because these are the social side of employment when you are being employed. So maternity leave, sick leave, the death benefit fund, development fund, national medical benefit fund, pension fund, and the employees compensation fund, where maybe something might happen at your work, and then you need to be compensated for it. So this is what our National Social Security Commission administers. We move to Unit 4. Here we look at the teaching that focus on healthcare issues. And very importantly, what we find prominently in our young people, it's a long-term effects of smoking and alcohol abuse. It increases the risk of cancer, both in mouth and also in your esophagus, and then increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases. And for pregnant women, the underdevelopment of the fetus, and that's where we find, when we do inclusive education, you will find the fetal alcohol syndrome that comes in, especially in the pregnant woman. And with the men, you find the erectile dysfunctions, wrinkles, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, the cirrhosis of the liver. So it means the liver can't function anymore. So the long-term effects of using alcohol and other drugs, it's very important that these health issues needs to be communicated through to the learners when they are doing the life skill course and life skills as a subject. Within still the healthcare issues, it's another issue of cancer. Cancer is a very abnormal growth of a cell, and it tends to proliferate, meaning that it multiplies in a very uncontrollable manner, and it can spread. And cancer is not a disease. It's a group of different and distinctive diseases together. So that's why it is very difficult to find a cure for cancer, and it can occur in many different ways, and affect one's body and the tissues within the body and any part of the body. So cancer is another health issues that we need to discuss with our learners within the life skills syllabus. And we said life skills is a holistic subject, and another area within this holistic, it's a spiritual growth that need to be touched. It's when a person is growing to know their God, knowing their God's ways and their God's plan for their life. So spiritual growth doesn't just mean that the person is religious, but it also means within themselves, can the person meditate and think about things through before they make decisions, and then reflect on things and decisions they took, and then say forgive themselves, others that were involved in it. And it's very important that we guide our learners in this section of spiritual growth, that they will take time out and reflect on their plans, reflect on their lives, reflect on their careers, and meditate on different things, job challenges that they might have, conflict issues that they might experience in their workplaces. It's where the spiritual growth comes in that we need to guide our learners into. And the emotional section. So we looked at the healthcare issues like the issue of alcohol and drug use, and then cancer, the diseases that are sometimes incurable, the spiritual growth. Now the emotional growth section. as our learners are experiencing growth, they need to harness and learn to control their emotions within a given limit, within the society, because it's not always that you must just shout and fight an issue out. But as a grown up, as a person who is emotionally mature, there are ways that you can express your emotions and your concerns and your thoughts without hurting or without a fair fight or without saying something bad to other person. And emotional growth is very needed because it will help with the stress and strains and hurt that the person is going through if a person is emotionally immature, and they might also harm others around them. So emotional growth is very important. And within the syllabus, there's also another topic that we have in Unit 4. How do we guide our young people to deal with peer pressure in terms of alcohol, drinking and smoking? And peer pressure, it's not only our teenagers, even adults in the workplaces are experiencing peer pressure. And they can be easily influenced by the people around them. So peer pressure occurs when somebody tries to convince the other person that they should do something that makes them acceptable. If they do ABC or if they smoke, then you will be part of the group. So peer pressure can be both positive and both negative. And then we go to our last unit, which is on sexual issues. Within this unit, there are a few terms that we need to master in terms of gender and sexuality. These are two different terms. Gender refers to the characteristics, the roles, the ideas, the role that a person plays within a given society, while this sexuality refers to the way a person or the individual views themselves, whether it is a man or a woman. So that it's the sexuality. It's another term, celibacy. It's when a person says, no, I'm going to refrain from sexual activities, and anybody can decide to be a celibate, and it's not a permanent condition. And it's that person's choice to say that I'm abstaining from any sexual activity for next 5-6 months. That we call celibacy. We are familiar with the terms STDs and STIs, the sexual transmitted diseases and infections. And these are transmitted through having a sexual contact, namely oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex. And these are issues that affects both the male and female, the woman and men from different backgrounds. And STDs are not just for specific gender or specific race. Everybody is at a risk who is sexually active to have a STD or a STI. Now let's continue. Now we handle those terms. Now let's continue with the topic of the purpose of sex. The purpose of sex is multifaceted, and it's a very complicated issue. Throughout, it's something that comes throughout the creation of men. It's something that is very beautiful and very fascinating, but there's also led to many broken homes, marriages, and people just on the issue of sex. So the purpose of sex mostly it's to have a relationship, and this needs to be communicated through to our learners. It's to procreate. We need to create to say that, okay, my offsprings, human offsprings needs to be there, and very importantly is for the pleasure of both the woman and the man, and not only for the men. So it comes in where the relationship grows, where the pleasure is enjoyed by both sexes of both parties involved, whether it's a man or and a woman, or female or male. That is the purpose of sex, how it can be communicated. But again, we must be careful. I said it, and I must also retract it. We must be careful because our parents are very peculiar about what we are teaching our learners when we come in terms of purpose of sex, to say that it's only between male and female. And based on the belief systems that are being harnessed or that are being practiced within that school system or the community, be very careful how we communicate the purpose of sex for the learners within that level. And for sure, many of our learners are exposed already the social media to know that, oh, sex can also be used as this way. So when dealing with this topic, do a thorough research and be comfortable about talking about this topic. There are other reasons why our children go into sexual acts at a younger age. It can be they having their period very early. They have a little value for education that they don't know, but then they find this thing. Sometimes if I go back to inclusion and abuses that take place, then early exposure also to sexual activities can cause a child who is being abused to go into sexual acts. And having poor parenting models or absentee father, a person might not attend church or not being part of a religious affiliation, and peer pressure, having friends who are already sexually active. Within the Unit 5 also we are based with sexual issue. There is a risk that goes along with illegal abortions. And women are exposed very much to this, and this has become a weekly media print out that we headings that we have that there's a child found in with dump site or where. So illegal abortions, it might be followed when there is infertility, when a woman is an inflammation in the pelvic, there are infections that are going on, and sometimes people use these things which are not sterilized. And illegal abortions also can also lead to the woman's pelvic being damaged and cervix being damaged and having uncontrollable and severe bleeding orders, and then also can cause the woman to become or die of it. So there are different risks involved when a person goes for illegal abortions, and it goes also with health issues and then long-term effects that can damage the womb and the bladder and the bowel movements. And with that, the last topic that we handle here was now on the issue of illegal abortions, and all of these are linked with the sexual issues that we find within Unit 5. And these are the guidelines that we need to focus on when we go through our study guide, and emphasize these main points when we prepare for the examination and also when we write our assignments. I thank you very much, and then remind again, the tutor, Ms. San-Marie Steenkamp, it's no more the tutor here. We'll assign a tutor for this course and will be communicated in due time to you all. Thank you very much.